And welcome to Up to the Minute. It is Wednesday, October the 14th. We're midway through this week. We are moving right along. Glad to have you with us. We have got a great show for the next half hour or so. We've got some special guests. You're going to recognize one of them, I promise. Stay tuned for that. But first, I want to introduce my co-host, Brittany Pacheco, joining us from her home studio. Brittany, question,
Hey.
you weren't here yesterday, but have you been out this morning? Because it's gorgeous out this morning, too.
Yeah, good morning, Todd. Yes, I've been outside. I took Luna on her morning walk, of course. And yes, it was very, very nice outside. I just wish it would last throughout the rest of the day because yesterday it got quite warm. But, we're here. We're going to make it. And I just want to welcome everyone here on Up to the Minute. Thank you for taking the time out of your morning to join us and check out this podcast. We've got a very exciting show. I do want to remind everyone to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and YouTube if you already have not subscribed and followed us. So be sure to do all of that. And also, we need your help to grow our audience. We would really appreciate it if you click that share button at the bottom of this podcast so that you can share it on your personal news feed. That way we can grow our audience, but more importantly, so we can just share this information out to everyone who is not following us on social media.
Thanks, Brittany. If you may get a few questions in social media during this show. If you get some, just chime in and let us know, all right?
Will do.
All right, we'll get back to you shortly. We mentioned you'll recognize one of the guests. Really, you'll recognize two of our guests because one of them's here every week on a Wednesday, and we're glad to have him with us again. HCC Police Chief Greg Cunningham. Good morning, Chief.
Morning, Todd. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to chatting with you. And it's always one of Brittany's favorite segments because you're halfway through the week. It means we're moving right along. We're going to be with you in a little while. Thanks for being here. And another person you'll recognize, maybe from Project Runway, maybe here from HCCTV or just out on his social media. You may have seen him at a couple of museums or some of his displays, and he's just all over the place. Alan Gonzalez, his line is called AlanTude. He's a proud HCC alum, and we are pleased to have you with us. Thanks for joining us, Alan.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks so much. Love being here.
We love having you. We're going to get back with you in just a moment, but we want to kick things off with Andrea Bonner. She's the chair for the Consumer Arts and Sciences Center of Excellence. Good to see you again, Andrea.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see all of you.
We're doing things a lot differently now here at HCC, but some of your faculty and staff were able to get back into the buildings this past week. How's that been going with the lab-based courses? What's been the reaction of the students and the faculty?
It's been great. Students have been glad to be back on campus. As I mentioned, in talking with you guys before the show, they're complying. Everybody's wearing their masks. They're following, the social distance guidelines and all of that. We've got great support from campus operations, HCC police department, and a great cleaning crew that's coming in, cleaning the rooms after we're done. And it's been good to be back and actually see people instead of seeing people like we're seeing each other here.
Virtually, yeah, online. Yeah, I hear you. I want to talk to you about HCC's Fashion Design and Merchandising Department. You guys hosted a series over the summer. It was a virtual series called Fashion of Future. Maybe you can tell us a bit about that and some of the topics you addressed.
Yeah, we talked about the future of fashion. As you know, when COVID hit, it hit the fashion industry hard, just like a lot of industries. One of the topics that we talked about was the changing face of retail. Retail was already going through a hard time. There's not as much foot traffic in malls anymore, and brick and mortar stores. A lot of people are doing online. But when COVID hit, everything went online. So retailers basically had to shift how they were doing things. And we just delved into that a little bit more, and also thought about, is that going to be the way things are going forward? And a lot of it is. A lot of retailers had to pivot really quickly, and they've actually done well online. But we also saw some retailers who didn't do well. Some of those ones that we're used to, Macy's and Brooks Brothers, those names that we know. You've seen a lot of them in the news that have filed bankruptcy since COVID hit. And they were already struggling, but this just kind of tipped them. Yeah, that kind of tipped them over the edge. Another topic that we talked about was fashion and social justice. We know that a lot of things were happening in our country and our world over the summer, a lot of headlines. And that just made us delve into a little bit more of how fashion is perceived, the diversity in fashion or lack of diversity in fashion. We talked about, you know, how magazines, you typically see one person or one look on magazine covers or in magazines. And also designers, the lack of diversity as far as designers are concerned. So we talked a little bit about that. And we had local industry leaders that came on our Zooms that we had, and we had like 200 to 300 people that had signed on for those. So we had students, we had people in the community who really wanted to hear about these topics. And lastly, we talked about sustainability, and that's kind of a buzzword that people talk about in the fashion industry a lot. But what does it mean? I know a lot of us being at home started cleaning out our closets and things like that. And I don't think people really think that fashion, or they don't know that next to oil and gas, that fashion is the biggest polluter of our planet. We think about all those clothes that we have that we don't wear, and we donate those. And where do they end up? A lot of them end up in landfills. And they just sit there for years and years and years. So we talked about that and the types of materials that designers use to create those clothes, and a lot of things. And again, it's just, there are topics that have been talked about, but given our current state, there were things that kind of came to the forefront, and we thought that having a virtual forum to discuss that with a lot of people was good, and we got a great feedback from it.
You know, you and I talked about this in the past. We talked about the fact of Amazon, you know, growing leaps and bounds, that fashion merchandisers really have to look online for marketing their product, and that is the future. So as you kind of alluded earlier, you guys were a step ahead of the game because you were already promoting this before we went on lockdown and everyone had to sell their products online.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of designers and people who own businesses, again, as I mentioned, they've had to pivot their business into this model of promoting online and social media. In years past, people used to have to have huge marketing budgets to promote their companies and their fashion lines. And now everything can be done via social media for, you know, really on the cheap. So to your point, yeah, we've been looking at that for some time because we look at future trends and we already saw it coming years ago. So, yeah.
I want to move to Alan for a bit. Andrea, stick around because we're going to bring you into the conversation. But Alan Gonzalez, we've had him on one of our shows before, and it's been, you know, Alan, I think I looked at my timeline on Facebook. It was a little over a year ago that you were on one of our shows at HCCTV. And I know that was a very exciting time for you because you had a show coming up at, I believe, the Houston Museum of Natural Science, and also a debut on Project Runway. That was about to start as well. So it's been an exciting year for you, even though I imagine half of it has been in a shutdown.
I was actually more busy during the shutdown than I was before. It has been crazy. The year really has been crazy. I think when I was last here, we were preparing ourselves for that museum show.
Yeah.
That museum show went well. We're coming up on that anniversary. And then we moved to New York. I started working costumes for television now. So I'm designing costumes. We did Legendary on HBO. We have a new show that's coming up, and then we're starting to get ready for season 2. So now the production is opening back up. I'm back in New York doing my thing up here. But during the shutdown, as Professor said, we've had to pivot, and we started making face masks. I flew back down
about that because I follow you in social media, and I've been seeing you modeling your face masks, and we're showing some of those as we're talking. But you kind of picked up right away. I know you were one of the first ones early on to start designing these face masks.
We picked up. I felt kind of the need. I saw the world just like crumbling around me, and I felt horrible just sitting at home. But I knew I couldn't put on gloves and go like help people with COVID because I have no idea what's happening. Like, do not have me in the healthcare industry. But I knew I could sew. And so I was like, I have to do something. And that's why we started making face masks. And me and my mother were just sewing at home on lockdown. And then it grew into this giant thing. And then we started helping the hospitals in Houston. At this point, our team is capable of making around 2,000 masks a week with just us there in Houston. AlanTude is still based in Houston. I think we'll forever be based there. But it's exciting to see the community and just how we're able to give back.
Now, you're in New York right now. How are the conditions in New York? Because I know months ago it was the epicenter of COVID in the country. A lot of serious and tragic things happening there. What is the situation there in New York like?
I think that New York is, I mean, we've seen New York go through so many different world crises, right? And one of the things that's so great about them is that they really know how to get back up in the same way that Houston picks back up after every hurricane. Yeah. It's great to see them slowly handling it. I think they're handling it great on the way that they've slowly opened back up, on the way that they're all complying, on the way that they've changed their public transit, on the way that they've just kind of had to pivot and make safety a bigger priority than it was before. So, I mean, people are here, people live here, you know, people grew up here. It's not just a touristy town, like there's families here. So they're doing it and we're making it happen.
And you're designing for a television, you're designing fashion for a television show and costumes for a TV show. What is that like? Are you doing, I'm gonna ask you, like we're all working online. Are you working online these days? Do you get a chance to go into a studio or into a place and work with others? How is that working with your work on the outside?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of our prep now from home. So me and the small team will come over to my apartment. We'll like prep it up here. We'll do the pattern work. We'll do the cutting. We'll do the sewing here. And then once we actually have to do the fittings, we'll go in, of course, with like masked up and like face shields and the gloves and the whole 9 yards. And then that's the only time that we'll really interact with other people. But other than that, we're like quarantined to just our team. And they're really great about how many people you can see, how many people you can't see, like how you travel, how you don't travel. Buying fabric is also like an event. It's all just like you have to take precautions.
Being a fashion designer, what is that like for you? Because I imagine you're used to interacting with people, clothing on them, fitting them, measuring them, and working with them, reading their face signal, everything, body language. You're probably used to doing that. How is that now when you're having to work in a virtual world or where you're having to work masked up, wearing gloves, face shields, masks, all that stuff?
It's been interesting. I am a people person. I mean, that's kind of my selling point. My attitude is my AlanTude. And so it's had to be an interesting way to have to pivot and be like, okay, well, how do I sell myself now that you can't see me? Zooms are my go-to now because my personality still gets to shine through even though we're miles away. But yeah, I think you get to be creative again with fashion. I got really creative with my new collection this time. I mean, I threw rubber gloves into there that are like sewn into the dress. Awesome. And it's just like, I saw people going into the grocery stores with the most ridiculous outfits when the pandemic hit, because at this point, it's just like, how do I save myself from COVID, as opposed to like, how fabulous am I going to look, right? So at this point, I was like, you know what? Let's get crazy. Just throw everything and anything in there. This is the season to do it. And so I feel like I've always gotten crazy, but this time I definitely did just go like, here we go.
So Andrea, I want to ask you, is this something that you've noticed from a number of your students? Are people getting more creative during this lockdown? Because I figure, you know, you've got to figure out to do something new during the lockdown. A lot of folks over the last 6 months haven't been doing much of anything, but you've got to get some creativity and some takeaways from it. Are you noticing this with your students?
Absolutely. Alan hit it on the head. And as he mentioned, he's been busier during the lockdown and during COVID than before. And a lot of designers, students started their own businesses while we were in COVID because they were making masks. It's an easy pattern. They could do it quickly. They could crank out a lot at one time. So although it's been bad, there's also been a great upside to it. So it's been, you know, I keep saying, let's not look at the bad of COVID, let's look at the good. And so there's been a lot of good, and students are looking at new ways to do things, which is what we encourage.
Right. Alan, you know, you always make us proud. We look forward to seeing you in the future. For folks who are wanting, they can follow you on social media. It's AlanTude is the name of your fashion line. And if they want to watch your fashions on television shows, how can they do that?
Oh, there's different ones. I would say really just follow me on social media and see when we drop new things. Go to our website. Again, everything is AlanTude. I made it super simple. So if you just search us up, you'll find us. And thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love being here.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you and talking to you. We're going to put all the links to your social media and your website in the social media post for the show, along with our HCC program, where you can get links to Andrea Bonner's programs with fashion merchandising. Thanks to you both. Have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. All right, we're going to move on to Chief Cunningham. And Chief, it's always great to have you back on a Wednesday. And, you know, this is an important day because early voting just started yesterday, and a couple of our campuses are major polling sites where people can come poll in person or in their car.
Yeah, so absolutely. Todd, yesterday the big news was everybody being lined up at certain polling places around the city. I'm really proud to say that HCC's polling places were busy but not overrun. So we're a good place to consider if you're looking for a place to early vote. We've got them at several locations, and I don't have them on a list, I'm afraid, but what I can do is read them off for you. And it's we've got them at North Line, which is, or I'm sorry, at North Forest, right, which is our Little York location up in the northeast side of town. For Southeast, it's our Southeast Main College at Rustic. They're at West Loop, which is 59 and 610. Alief Bissonnet and the West Houston Institute out on Hayes Road at the Hayes campus out there.
Well, you know, one thing people need to realize, and I've seen a lot of folks posting in social media, I'm standing in line for an hour, the line's around the block. Well, you don't have to vote at one location for the early voting. You can vote anywhere you want. You can go to harrisvotes.org, look them up, and you can find the polling places. And Chief, they even tell you how many people are standing in line. I went to vote yesterday. I was in and out of there within 10 minutes. So you can find a location with not many people there. It might take you just a little while online to find it.
Yeah, Todd, thanks for saying that, because you are spot on. When I heard Harris County was giving wait times with these things, and you're absolutely right. Everybody is so used to voting in their neighborhood, yeah, when they go on election day. With early voting, you can go to any place in the city that's not busy. So I'd really encourage you to take a look at that.
We also want to talk about the folks returning to campus. It just happened last week where our students started returning for the classes that are lab-based. Faculty's there as well. From your impression, it appears to be working well, especially with the screening. And from what I'm hearing, students, faculty, and staff are following the rules and the guidelines.
You know, they really are. And what I'd like to do is kind of talk about Alan and Andrea's conversation. It was high energy and really interactive, and that's what we're getting back on campus now. It makes a difference to be able to sit down and look somebody in the eye and have some interaction. So far, it's really been going pretty well. Our screening processes, as we begin to ramp them up, right? There were a couple of bumps in the road, but we got it all kind of squared away, and it's working really, really well. The nice part about it is we're getting ready to open up some more options here before the end of the month. What I'd encourage everybody to do is take a look at our website, stay in front of it, because there are a lot of things that we're doing. You know that some student services are available now, some coaching and counseling and financial aid, and a few other of the student support services are there. And what's coming down the road now is access to some computer labs and some quiet areas for study and those kind of things. And I know for a lot of folks, that's really important for them.
You mentioned financial aid. We've got to clarify because the financial aid department, they're seeing people in person, but they're asking you to register ahead of time. They don't want you just showing up because they're not situated for that. They're by appointment only.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Todd. And in all honesty, most of these other services would prefer that you schedule your time as well. And that's why I want to keep pointing people back to our website for how to interact best. Um, Needless to say, the computer labs and those kind of things need to be cleaned between usage. So they only have a certain number of computers that they can make available and in certain time slots. So making reservations before you go is absolutely the best way to do this and to ensure that you have a spot.
And Chief, you mentioned the quiet spaces and people may be wondering what's that all about? Well, I know over the summer we did some student surveys and students were saying they need a quiet place to get away from the family. They might have kids learning at home or spouses who are teachers who are teaching from home, kind of like it happening at Brittany's house. And they want just a space where they can go study, plug in, and just get a chance to focus on their work. And we're trying to accommodate those students very soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Todd. And again, you're spot on, right? So we've all become accustomed now to the dog barking and the baby demanding something to eat for lunch during meetings, right? So if you're really trying to study and you're trying to get ahead, that ability to have a spot where you can sit down and you can read it and you can comprehend what you're trying to get done is really important. I'd look for those announcements very, very soon. We're hoping to get that done before the 3rd or 4th week of October. So it's like right around the corner.
Well, Chief, we always love having you here on Wednesdays. We look forward to seeing you again next week. If anything pops up this week, let us know.
Hey, Todd, give me half a second. I'm going to beat a drum I used to beat because it's time to do it again. And that drum is really about taking care of one another. You know, as we begin to get out and start to socialize now, more and more people are doing it. But bear in mind, there are still those folks that are stuck at home, either due to the fact that they can't get out, or that they're just their lifestyle and their jobs aren't bringing them back into the workplace yet. Please be kind to folks. Say hello when you see them on the street. Understand you may be the only person they talk to today. So put a big smile on your face and help them out if you can.
That's some great advice, Chief, and a very important point. Thanks again.
Have a great day, guys.
You too. We'll see you next week. So, Brittany, I think I was mistaken. Your husband's going back to work. Is he back in the classroom preparing for students at HISD?
Yeah, so HISD, at least with his school, my understanding is that all of HISD faculty and staff were to report back to the classroom this week, and the kids will come back. Those kids who have selected to come back to the classroom will come back next week. So they're still going to be teaching virtually as well as in person. So, you know, to kind of piggyback off what Chief said, everyone, please be nice to your teachers. They are doing a lot. I mean, and it's not just, you know, the what goes on in the classroom. I can tell you that on a daily basis, my husband comes home and he's still working. He's still preparing for the next day or for the week, or, you know, whether it's phone calls, text messages with his team. I mean, teachers do a lot, and they obviously certainly don't get the credit that they should. And I just want to say I appreciate all that teachers do. Doesn't matter what grade level. You are awesome. You are the real MVP. You guys deserve everything.
Yeah, they sure do, you know, and from what I'm hearing, it's going to look a lot different when students return to the classrooms next week with the way things are going to be done. Because like you said, teachers are going to be teaching online and in person at the same time. How's that going to work? Well, it's yet to be seen. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. But I mean, we'll see a lot of that as we move forward at HCC as well in the next semester. So we'll have to just see how this COVID crisis continues. Let's get into our news and announcements. Recsports, yeah, they're happening. They've got all types of events and programs, Brittany, from Twerk Out, Twerk Fitness with the V Sisters. Also, we've got Zumba and Boot Camp as well.
They do. So Zumba and Boot Camp are Tuesdays and Thursday events, and the Twerk Fitness with the V Sisters is on Friday. So Todd, make sure you get your outfit ready for that, because we definitely want to see that. So for all who are interested in these events, please email christian.andrews@hccs.edu with the subject line Twerk or Zumba or Boot Camp. That way you're going to be registered for the appropriate events. And also we've got diversity in sports that's happening next Tuesday, October 20th at noon. It's a virtual discussion on the current state of the sports industry, including mental health in sports, COVID, athletes using their platform to protest, and Special Olympics. So according to this, we're going to have some giveaways for this event. So you can email sports@hccs.edu, or you can just simply go to the website, which is hccs.edu/recsports for anything and everything related to our rec sports program. And be sure to also follow their social media on Instagram and Facebook, which is HCCS Athletics.
And MBDA Virtual Subs and Sandwiches series is back, virtually of course, with Morganti, Texas. The subs and sandwich folks at HCC's Minority Business Development Association are still getting entrepreneurs together, BYOS. You know what that means? Bring your own sandwich. That's bring your own sandwich or bring your own subs. Wednesday, October the 14th. That's today, not long after this show ends, 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Check the HCC events calendar for more information. And Brittany, very serious subject, but very important. Suicide prevention training is happening for both staff, faculty, and students.
That is correct. So the mission is to reduce suicidal behavior and save lives with innovative, practical, and proven training. So this is offered through our HCC counseling office, and there's several student sessions. The next one will be this Friday, October 16th at 2 p.m. Now, I'm going to deviate a little bit, Todd, because in relation to a very serious topic that is mental health awareness, there is actually an event going on today, and that's through our Northwest counseling office. And they're going to have a discussion on depression and bipolar disorder. Now, this is in conjunction with Remind, which is a support group out there. And that's happening today, October 14th at noon. At 2 p.m. My apologies. And that you can register by going to hccs.edu/virtualmh. So we'll be sure to include that link in this post. Hopefully, if we do have the graphic out, we'll be sure to promote it here on social media as well. So that event is happening today at 2. So if you're interested, please join.
HCC Northwest as well is having some community gardening events. That's right. Get your green thumb going. Learn how to garden, plant some things during this pandemic, and join HCC Northwest for a community learning workshop on container gardening at home. Yes, you can do it at home. It's all virtual, of course. 10:30 a.m. till 11:30, Monday, October the 19th, not too far away. For information, we'll put the link in the show as well. Online Services Toolkit, that's available to all of our students, Brittany.
It is. It's a one-stop guide for technology, textbooks, tutoring, and much, much more. Students, this is a free resource right at your fingertips. Take advantage of it. Go to hccs.edu/online-toolkit for more information.
Speaking of tutors, well, our Academic Success Center tutors are available for you students. They're available to meet with you virtually through Microsoft Teams, thanks to HCC's Academic Success Center. They'll help you stay on track with coursework, understand assignments, and improve your study skills. You'll need those so all throughout life. Of course, you can. We'll give you the phone number you can call, or in the link to this tutoring service in the social media post for the show. There is a scholarship available for students if you're willing to write, Brittany.
That is. Now, that's also part of our counseling office and Office of Institutional Equity. This is on intimacy and love. It's a 500-word essay or any artwork of your choosing that, goes with the theme. You have the opportunity to be awarded a $250 scholarship. Hey, free money, right? The deadline is November 9th, so share your love for art, prose, and your fellow man in this trying time by applying. 2 scholarships will actually be awarded, but your GPA of 2.0 is required. So you can email hcc.healthyrelationships@hccs.edu for more information.
We've got a few things going on virtually now because we can't do them in person. The virtual student lobby is available for you. If you have questions, you can do a Zoom call, phone call, email. That's all available. You can visit hccs.edu/virtual lobby. And Brittany, we've got virtual open houses for new students and college transfer fairs that are going on.
That's right, Todd. So for the open house sessions in October, just head over to hccs.edu/informationsessions to sign up for the next session. And in regards to the virtual college transfer fairs, head over to hccs.edu/transferfair to check out which universities will be holding a session.
That's right. There's a lot of them. We always have them in person. They're usually at all of our campuses. Well, now we're doing it online. So tomorrow we've got a great show for you. You know how on some TV shows they do crossover events? Well, we're kind of doing that tomorrow because we've been doing this show, of course, for a while now, but especially during the shutdown. Janet May's got her own show. We're going to do a crossover event tomorrow. We're going to have Janet May, our Chief Human Resources Officer. She's on this show, and she'll be here to talk about the first week back to campus, how that went for faculty and staff, and how her virtual coffee breaks are going. More on that tomorrow. And Brittany, it's Thursday, virtual family fun as well.
Yes, and this is going to be a great one, Todd. We're going to be joined by Lawndale Art Center, and they are partially open for business with some exhibitions, such as a Nelson Mandela exhibition. That's going to be very interesting. But they also have a lot of virtual offerings as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So make sure you join us tomorrow. Brittany will be here. I'll be here. And we hope you are here as well, live tomorrow, 10 a.m. on Up to the Minute.